Imagine if you spend the majority of your adult life attempting to find a single, accessible solution. Who's your dad? Not for attention, not for wealth, nor for influence, just the truth. For more than 10 years, Ramir Carter has been doing just that. And the guy at the heart of this hunt is none other than Jay-Z, one of the wealthiest and most influential people in hip-hop. It sounds like a drama on Netflix, but this is real life. When Ramir was a child, he was raised by Wanda, a single mother. She informed him at a young age that the man rearing him wasn't his biological father. Sean Carter, she alleged, was his biological father. That is Jay-Z before he became famous. Wanda claims that she first met Jay-Z in Philadelphia when she was a teenager in the early 1990s. He was already in his 20s and rising to fame in the music industry. It all started when he brought her to his aunt's Brooklyn apartment, she claims. Years have passed since then, and Ramir has been determined to establish the truth. Even as she fought for him, his mother died. A statement she signed, court records, and the man's DNA exclusions that were initially on his birth certificate. Everything continues to point to Jay-Z. However, the matter always seems to face a roadblock whenever Ramir attempts to involve the courts, legal jargon, delays, jurisdictional justifications, you name it. It has happened. This is when things become even messier. Even though Ramir spent his own money seeking justice and was refused a DNA test from Jay-Z, he has been called everything from a liar to a cloud chaser. He doesn't sound like someone looking to get rich, though. When you hear him talk, it sounds like someone is worn out. I'm sick and weary of being ignored, quiet, and criticized. It's 50 Cent now. It goes without saying that 50 Cent will not miss this opportunity. He has apparently sided with Ramir after previously denouncing the hypocrisy in the profession. Additionally, there are rumors that 50 may include Ramir in a future documentary that would thoroughly expose the situation. This is no longer merely a personal family matter. A full-fledged media maelstrom is developing. Recently, a judge ordered Jay-Z to reply to the complaint by July 18th. Just that decision is historic. This case has been stalled by the judicial system for more than 10 years, but it is now finally progressing. Not only is that change significant for Ramir, but it also has significant implications for power, celebrity, and responsibility. The craziest aspect is that there are rumors that Jay-Z's group even attempted a peaceful resolution. According to reports, they pledged to help Rise' music career and land him a record deal before things changed. Everything abruptly stopped when new attorneys took over. No assistance, no responses, no communication. Furthermore, not just legal games are being played. This individual has been dragged throughout society. He is ridiculed online, accused of having delusions, and accused of merely wanting money. However, his voice will have a different tone if you listen closely. He is not resentful. He is not yelling. The truth is the only thing he desires. This is when it gets interesting, because every well-known celebrity falsehood has a documented history. Also included are sworn affidavits, property documents, DNA exclusions, and signatures. Additionally, Jay-Z has yet to take the test. Never. Not even to turn it off. What's the point? What's keeping you from just demonstrating that this child isn't yours? Now, it's the question that everyone is asking. Jay-Z was only another driven rapper making his way through Brooklyn and Philadelphia in the early 1990s, before anyone had heard of Rockefeller. It was then that their paths met, Wanda says. She was a fragile youngster who was still figuring out who she was. She was picked up from Philadelphia by Jay-Z, who was already in his 20s, and transported to New York across state borders. There is a great deal of fury just from that detail. In Pennsylvania, the consent age was and remains 17 years old, a timeline that shows she became pregnant at 15 and gave birth at 16 is accurate. Furthermore, if it is true that it presents important issues that extend beyond paternity. Following Rise' birth, Wanda persisted in attempting to get in touch with Jay-Z. However, she encountered silence. Years later, she named Robert Graves, her then boyfriend, as the father, but a DNA test revealed he wasn't. For Rhyme, everything changed at that point. His first court case to prove paternity was filed in 2010. He soon discovered, however, that it would not be simple to defeat a billionaire. Since Jay-Z didn't reside in New Jersey, his legal team contended that he couldn't be made to undergo a paternity test there. However, Rymer's team retorted that it had proof that Jay-Z possessed real estate in the state. Still, nothing changed. The judges were swapped. Documents vanished inexplicably. Courts alleged technological mistakes. It seemed as though the system itself was opposed to the lawsuit proceeding. Rimmer's annoyance continued to mount. He was no longer merely battling for understanding. What he perceived as outright fraud and conspiracy inside the legal system was what he was battling. One of his most steadfast supporters turned out to be his godmother, Lily Coley. In addition to openly asserting that Wanda was underage, she also said that Jay-Z's staff was aware of the situation and attempted to cover it up. Rumors circulated about possible deals in music, chances, label access, and even money. However, when Rhyme spoke out, the tone shifted. All of a sudden, the business seemed to close ranks in order to safeguard one of its biggest stars. Not to be overlooked is the emotional toll. Rye is juggling more than just a legal issue. His life is characterized by perplexity, public embarrassment, and desertion. He claims he has no desire for money. He is not seeking retribution. He only wants to discover his origins. His mother is no longer there. Sean Carter was the only name she left him with, along with the conviction that he should be aware of the reality. Things have only gotten worse because of Jay-Z's silence. It's difficult for a man who has based his brand on black achievement, family, and legacy to comprehend the reluctance to participate. Why have you been living with this story for more than 10 years? Why not take a test to put a definitive end to it? Except, of course, if the test proves everything. The public's perception is beginning to change there. Given that Diddy is already in the public eye and that whispers are beginning to make connections between previously unspoken topics, more and more people are questioning why someone with nothing to hide would spend 10 years dodging a single easy test. Some of the biggest artists in hip-hop are facing criticism as a storm rages across the industry. And despite everything, 50 Cent is not fanning the flames here. Biting his tongue has never been his style. It is currently believed that he is incorporating rhyme into his documentary effort. One thing is certain, he isn't letting this story go away, regardless of whether it is trivial, personal, or just 50 being 50. Just the fact that he's giving rhyme a platform has changed the tone. There is a deadline. The deadline for Jay-Z's court response is July 18th. The time is running out. It was never Rhymer Carter's intention to overthrow a music legend. It has to do with taking back identity, which most people take for granted. He never asked to be associated with one of the most influential men in hip-hop as a child. He wasn't after cameras or press. He was only looking for a response. Despite this, he has spent over half of his life trying to get a man to just acknowledge him. And now he is 32 years old. His voice is filled with genuine sadness. He isn't attempting to start a fight or yelling into a mic. He is quiet, grounded, and oddly composed for someone whose name has been tarnished for more than 10 years. He speaks respectfully about his mother. The day she sat him down, referred to him by his given name, and said, "This is your father." She didn't say it once and moved on. Over the years, she repeated it repeatedly until he had a mental image of it. It was that constancy that stayed with him. He was confident she was telling the truth because of that. She's gone now. Before ever receiving the resolution she worked for, she passed away. Those who didn't want this tale to air still dubbed her a liar when she passed away. Remier, however, will not allow her memory to be lost to denial. He sees this conflict as fulfilling her final desire, exposing the truth, regardless of the time required. The case's details are frightening. Wanda was reportedly only 15 years old when she became pregnant. According to reports, a man in his 20s transported her over state borders. Paternity is only one of the many ethical and legal issues raised by that. But the system danced around such issues rather than providing answers. Paperwork was misplaced or misfiled. Judges came and went, and courts said they were powerless. Armed with formidable legal counsel, Jay-Z's team resisted at every opportunity. And today, everything feels more precarious as hip-hop royalty comes under more scrutiny, is being investigated, and everyone is beginning to look again at all of the whispers, rumors, and cover-ups that the industry formerly suppressed. Jay-Z, who was formerly seen as a cultural leader and strategic genius, is now being portrayed in a different light. A guy who might be open to escape a cotton swab, you would have to spend millions. The most painful thing is the stillness. How a man who talks about legacy and generational wealth can be so reluctant to speak with his supposed firstborn is beyond Rye's comprehension. He repeatedly stated that money is not what he wants. He only seeks the truth. A piece of the empire or a place at the Rock Nation table is not what he is requesting. He merely wants to understand his origins and the reasons behind someone going to such an extent to eradicate him. According to some reports, Rye is being sued by Jay-Z for slander, and the rapper is attempting to impose a gag order on him. That action seems like an attempt to put the story out of the public eye forever, if it is genuine. It's too late to remain silent, though. Not even the internet forgets. There is growing public pressure, and this time, lawyers are not controlling the story from behind the scenes. Rye only requests that Jay-Z submit to a DNA test. The story ends if it demonstrates that he is not the father. But if it turns out that he is, then everything is different. For Jay-Z, his family, and his meticulously crafted legacy, not just for Romeo. That test is crucial anyway. And everyone is waiting to see if Sean Carter will finally come clean as July 18th draws near.